Oh, she was alone. She wasn't with her friends. Oh, man. Oh, this one hurts. This one hurts. Mmm. Oh, that one really hurts. I felt that. I felt that. Alright guys, just got done watching episode 1 of season 2 of Hospital Playlist, and before I start this review, I just want to give my first impressions after watching the first episode. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It was thrilling to see our characters back. Supporting characters, main characters. We have a new character, Soye, a new doctor, who, I think, has a crush on Jungwon. I mean, that one scene with her wanting to get coffee with him, and she put her hands on his arm, and he politely took her hands off of his arm and gave her his ID card to go get coffee. Yeah, she has a crush on him. I don't think it's going to interfere with his relationship with Gil. I really don't see her as a obstacle to overcome. I mean, there's not that type of drama, to be honest. But yeah, I kind of think it's going to be one of those cases where it's like, oh, I have a crush on him, but he's in a relationship, can't do anything about it, move on, I think. For this episode, they really focus and put the whole spotlight on Mina and really showing her what she's dealing with. It could be stuff at work, with a patient, a certain situation with a patient, her awkward relationship with Seokyeong, and her being very distracted whenever Seokyeong, comes around. And to be honest, I kind of find it adorable because knowing that her character has a crush on him and she wants to be with him, but knowing how Seokyeong is, you're rooting for her. You're really rooting for her. And staying on Mina for a bit more. Now, when they started off this episode, I did not expected them to start it off that way. I mean, when I think about Hospital Playlist, I think about something funny. And when I was so excited about season 2, I thought they were going to start off with something funny. But instead, they started off where they left us off on season 1 when Seokyeong rejected Mina's invitation. Don't worry, I'll talk about this later, but man, I felt so bad for her. And plus, it was Christmas. You don't want to be alone on Christmas. Out of all the holidays that you don't want to be alone, Christmas, in my opinion, is number 1. I kind of thought they were going to show more of Gil's and Jungwon's relationship, but they only showed it once, and they only had one scene in this episode, and it was just them having dinner, and it was after how many minutes in the episode? I think it was around the 1 hour mark. So that was way more than half of the episode. So we had to wait probably maybe over an hour just to see one scene between these two. And hate it or not, I kind of thought it was kind of putting the couple to the side. But remember, it's only episode 1, so yeah, we're gonna get more of them. For Songhwa and Ikjun, the awkwardness was there, and you can tell whenever these two were near each other. And don't worry, again, this is just my impression of watching this episode. I'll talk more in depth later on in this video, but you can already see that awkwardness is there. And to be honest, when I was watching it, I was like, ugh, what's gonna happen? Is it gonna actually being brought up in this episode, or are they gonna drag it out? And eventually they did bring it up towards the end of this episode. Alright, let's start the review. Now, at the beginning of the episode, it started off where season 1 left off, when Seokyeong was invited to a steakhouse by text from Mina. She said, hey, I'm here with my friends. I would love for you to come. But then he rejected her by saying, no, it's okay. You can go ahead and have dinner with your friends. Little did we know, because they didn't show us in season 1, they showed us in this episode, that Mina was at the steakhouse, yes, but she was not with her friends. She was there, alone. It's just that feeling of when you invite someone and they just say no and you're there alone. And I'm not saying it happened to me, but Yeah. So when I saw her alone at the restaurant, man, I felt so bad for her. And plus, it was Christmas. Again, you don't want to spend your time alone during Christmas. You want to spend it with someone else. It could be a loved one. It could be with friends or it could be with family. But man, again, I felt bad for Mina. And I felt bad even more when she started eating and she ordered for two. So when she got done with her plate, she switched seats and ate the other plate. And oh man, they did a good job in making me feel bad for her even more. And then what hurts even more was when the chef gave her a cake. But what was also funny was that Mina said, "Stingy chef, this is a small cake." I'm like, how big do you want the cake? But, oh, it was after. But I'll get to that point. Let's switch it to Seokyeong. So Seokyeong, after he rejected Mina's invitation, he got a call from Shine, which is his ex-wife, that her dad collapsed during a family dinner and he went to go check on him. But then she wanted to go get kimbap. She asked him, "I want you to come with me." And he said yes. At the same time, Mina was just coming back from the steakhouse carrying the cake, carrying the bag with the flower and the teddy bear. I forgot to mention about that. So she was carrying it. She got a call from someone. And then out of nowhere, she sees Seokyeong coming out of the hospital, arm linked with another woman. And Mina is just watching this whole thing. And I'm going to say it one more time. I felt so bad for Mina. And what was kind of confusing after she saw this whole thing was Christmas songs was playing in the background. As much as I love Christmas songs, I don't think that was a perfect timing to play it. But then later on, Mina does find out that the woman that he was with was his ex-wife. So that did give a little bit of relief for Mina, thinking, okay, that's his ex-wife. There's nothing there. Let's move on. And then she can pretty much shoot her shot. But then it gets a little bit of ooh type of moment when Seokyeong was having a little bit of a dinner with his ex-wife at the hospital, and she says, "Can we have dinner together once in a while, more often?" And I'm thinking, she might want to get back together. I mean, ugh. Ooh, this is gonna be something, huh? Well, I did make my guess in my prediction video that Seokyeong is going to develop feelings for Mina. I still think that's going to happen. But as of right now, ooh. Now let's move on to Seonghwa and Ikjun. So just like I said before, the awkwardness was there, especially in the car ride when the guys were waiting for Seonghwa to pick them up in her new car when she was trying to back up. You can feel that awkwardness. So I was kind of waiting for them to bring up what they left us off in season 1 when Ikjun asked the question, even though he didn't ask directly, that he has a friend who he has feelings for. And by the ending of season 1, it was pretty obvious that Seonghwa knew that Ikjun was talking about her. So eventually they did bring this up, and it was pretty much the last scene of this episode. And what Seonghwa said was, "If I were you, I wouldn't tell her how you feel. Stay best friends." And that's pretty much to sum her answer up. She does say more, but just to sum it up, yeah, don't tell her how you feel. Stay best friends. And they did a pretty good job in making me feel bad for Ikjun. I mean, as bad as I felt for Mina, man, Ikjun, I felt bad for him. Jeez. Now let's talk about Gyul and Jongwon. It's really nothing much to talk about their relationship. We know that they're together. But what was confusing is that Ikjun said that when they were waiting for Seonghwa to pick them up, Ikjun asked Jongwon, "Is it true that you're not dating Gyul?" So they're not dating? No, I think they are, right? It's just Ikjun being Ikjun. He just doesn't know certain information, right? I'm just saying. But yeah, so back to the couple. We don't see much of them in this episode. They only have one scene together. We know that they're together. It's just that, again, we don't see more of them. The only scene we have of these two is just having dinner, and that's pretty much it. So in this episode, there were two patients that really stood out to me and I felt really, really bad for. First off, they did a pretty good job in making me feel bad for people in this episode. I really didn't expect that. I kind of thought it was just going to be funny after funny, which it did have, but it was just more of feeling bad for other people. So two of the patients really stood out. One, Yonu's mom. I'll talk about her first. So people at the hospital was trying to figure out why she was visiting the hospital so often and asking for Gil every time she visit. And a lot of times she came to visit with no reason whatsoever. And I think one employee at the hospital said maybe she's trying to sue the hospital for what happened to her kid. Her kid died at the hospital. But when Gil was talking about that with Jongwon during their dinner, she was worried. She was definitely worried. But Jongwon, he informed her that maybe she needs someone to talk to about her kid. Because out of everyone in that hospital, who do you think that spent the most time with the kid before that kid passed? It was you, Gil. And he was right. So when Yonu's mom came to visit again to pick up her umbrella and dropped off a cake, Gil asked the mom, "You want to have coffee?" And these two really did have a nice scene together, and yeah, that was the case. And then the second patient I felt bad for, it was the pregnant woman who was, I believe, 18 weeks pregnant, if not 19. And she was worried because she was only 19 weeks pregnant, her water broke, and one of the doctors, I forgot her name, but she informed her that the percentage of your baby surviving is very low. There's no chance of your baby surviving, and if your baby was born prematurely, it means that your baby's lungs is not developed and it'll be difficult for your baby to breathe. So yeah, it was, yeah, you know. But then she later on said, I want to switch doctors because there was another patient who was in the same position as hers, but their baby survived. And what Mina did was she went to Seokyeong, told him about the situation, and he talked to the patient. And what he said to her was pretty much the same thing, but at the same time gave her hope, saying that, yes, there's a slim chance that your baby will survive, but we're hoping that I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that your baby survives. Even though the percentage is slim, it's not zero. So there is a chance. And scenes like that with Seokyeong, even though he is a very sort of awkward person, if you think about it, but just seeing him deal with patients and giving them hope and knowing what he knows and does what he does, he really becomes this type of character where, you know, like, you're rooting for him. You like him, you know? I did want to talk about Junan, but there's really nothing much to talk about. He's still his serious self, you know. He's seen as this mean guy at work, but whenever he talks to Iksun, he becomes this bubbly guy. So yeah, there's really nothing much to talk about. Well, for now, I want to talk about the funniest scenes in this episode. I wrote it down. So the first one was a scene with Uju. Now he only had one scene, and that was him sleeping. I'm pretty sure we're going to see more of him later on in this drama. So when he was sleeping, Ik-jun, he wanted to give him a goodnight kiss, and he actually looked at Uju and said, wow. Like, he actually measured him with his fingers, well, with his hand, and thought, man, my kid grew. And the aunt came into the room and said, Uju grew overnight, which was so hilarious because season 2, episode 1 starts off right after season 1. And if you remember Uju in season 1, he was a small little kid. And then now, season 2, he's a big kid. And I just can't believe that they kind of broke the fourth wall, which was so hilarious. The second scene was when, well, first off, I didn't know that Jongwon and Junan were roommates. Unless they did mention that in season 1, I just don't remember it. But yeah, these two are roommates. So Jongwon asked Junan, hey, did you use my shampoo? Junan said, no, you stingy. But then Jongwon kind of tricked him and said, oh, you should try it. It feels nice. And then Junan was like, oh, I did use it. It was nice. And then threw tissue roll at him, which is so funny. Now the third funny scene, Ikjun and Junan fighting. You cannot have a Hospital Playlist episode without having Ikjun and Junan fighting. I think these two are going to be fighting probably at least 5 times in season 2. If the relationship of Junan and Iksun is revealed to Ikjun, then I'll say maybe 10 times in this season. And then the fourth funniest scene in this episode was, so when the guys were waiting for Songhwa to pick them up in her new car, so Jongwon revealed that Junan is in a long distance relationship with someone in the UK. Ikjun asked, where? In London. And I thought he was putting 2 and 2 together, realizing that, hey, your sister is in London. And I kind of thought he was, because he said, wait a minute, don't tell me. But then Ikjun answered, ask her if she knows Iksun. I'm like, oh my god, that was so close. So close. He almost found out. So close. And yeah, that's pretty much my review and the gist of the episode. If there's anything I might have missed, please leave it in the comments below. Again, it was amazing, enjoyable, fun to see our characters back. Seeing our characters do what they do at the hospital, whatever department they're in. It could be delivering babies or doing surgery and, stuff like that. It was so enjoyable to see them again. And yeah, man, this was a fun episode, and I can't wait to see the rest of the episodes. I believe there's 12 episodes in season 2, just like in season 1. And yeah, had fun watching it. And yeah, well, I don't know how to end this review, but I'll end it here. So if you guys like my review, leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. See ya.